Hey, folks, I think we're gonna call the meeting to order. We got 6:01 here. So I hereby call this meeting to order. Jason Kresser is not here today. For those who don't know, my name is Joe Zimmerman. I am the ag representative. And yeah, let's start in. Roll call. Amber, you got everybody's name?
Derek Ranta is the only one that is unaccounted for. However, Joelle said that he contacted her and said he is likely to be late.
Okay.
Jason is out, as you noted. All other SWAC members are here.
So went.
Or here.
Did everybody have a chance to read minutes of last meeting? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Well, then we need a motion.
I vote for 3 seconds.
There you go. All right. All in favor? Sorry, I forgot about that. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. Let's move on to updates. Looks like the first update here is solid waste enforcement. Kimberly Waller. Go ahead.
Oh, you're muted.
Thanks. Amber, did you get the slides from Melissa, or do you want me to share my screen?
Oh, hang on just a second. Try again, please.
Did you get the slide, the PowerPoint from Melissa? If
I
not,
did.
I can share my screen.
I did not receive a PowerPoint, just a couple of documents.
Let me try. So I'm doing Melissa. She's at a conference, so bear with me. She's really good at this. And can you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So Q1 for solid waste enforcement, citizen complaints, we received 30, she resolved 31. One was a carryover from the previous quarter. Solid waste handling facility inspections permitted, she conducted 12, exempts was 0. Annual report due April 1st, that was submitted. And more than half are missing from the facilities as of April 15th. Permitted, we received 6, we're missing 7. Exempt, we received 4, we're missing 13. CCPH and Ecology are working together to share information to close some of the gaps with the agencies. And Melissa is contacting the operators for their reports. We received, it's a new site. We received an ERT mid-April from the fire marshal regarding a new exempt facility. It's going to be exempt. It's a facility that receives triple rinse plastic totes, drums for recycling in Vancouver. Ecology hazardous waste toxic reduction program deemed the inspection wasn't necessary. Business manager informed NOI required. Ecology provide written communication, which I have. I only have 5 minutes. So I won't share that letter with you from Ecology to the company owner. Per Derek, as of 5/1, the business has not made contact with Ecology to follow up on the NOI that they are needing to complete. Updated site, Columbia Rock Products, Washougal, exempt facility. Facility operations have modified and site is no longer processing on-site pressure. The absence of the pressure means that Ecology sand and gravel permit is going to be required. Jessica McConnell is the lead from Ecology. Current S&G permit will continue to ensure that there are no gaps in coverage to prevent violations of WAC 173350. Without S&G permit, a solid waste handling permit will be required. Facility will no longer perform recycling with this option as it is not cost effective for their operation. Update, exempt site, East County Materials in Vancouver, exempt facility. Ecology received an ERT early March, performed a joint inspection March 21st with Jessica McConnell and Derek Rocket from Ecology, Melissa and Greg Benj from City of Portland's Clean Water Program. Operator provided receipts for dates, loads in question. Ecology staff contacted the business King Storm Solution listed on the receipt to investigate origin. No violations observed. File was closed. Update, exempt site, Burlington Environmental, Washougal. Derek from Ecology and Nick Bennett and Dee Williams. They had two separate, Melissa went out once with Derek and then once with Nick and Dee, end of March and mid-April. Marked improvement noted, no active spills, improved labeling, aisle spacing improvement, working on missing inspection reports, timely correcting deficiencies noted on inspection report, proper safe storage of lights. And okay, that's her report. I would like to, if I can figure out how to unshare here, let me stop sharing. For the new facility, if you guys are interested in the, oh, I wish she'd sent this to you, Amber, because I don't know how to work this. Let's see here. Ecology. In their letter to the new recycling exempt facility. Let's see here, where are they? Sorry, guys, I'm not good at this tech stuff.
Okay.
Close this. Sorry. Okay. If you guys are interested in knowing what the new facility that was reported through the ERT, their primary operations is shredding, grinding, and pulverizing scrap industrial plastics for recycling. I'm just going to read the responses that they gave to Ecology and to us. The containers originate from Columbia Cascade Company in Portland. We have a recycling program with them where we would bring them triple washed, they would bring us triple washed rinsed IBC totes and triple rinsed plastic drums to be shredded, then ground for recycling. There's no containers that have ever been contaminated. Let's see here. A few containers on site contain waste beer. They have a program with a local brewery where they bring their partially filled cans of beer for destruction and disposal. When crushing the cans, the crusher, of course, the beer spills off into a drip pan, and then they pump it into an IBC. The totes are then shipped out to Hermiston, Oregon, to a livestock feed company. So this is in essence what they're doing. And again, they have not contacted Derek yet to process their NOI. Hopefully we'll have an update for you in the next meeting with their compliance on that. Second piece is, it's not as formal. Going back to the vape conversation, I just wanted to update you all that I met with, we have a Southwest Regional PPA stormwater group that meets, and I shared with them the issues we were having with the schools and the vapes. And then I also shared with them that we've got an excess of expired hand sanitizers and batteries, and being SQGs and their status and what have you, not having money to process. City of Vancouver's clean energy? It's either clean energy or clean water. They've got a program, a voucher program that is originally structured for a one-time use of $500. But the city said that they would work with the schools and expand that up to $10,000. And then we worked out a plan for how we can collect from around the county, because again, it's City of Vancouver, and bring those products into the city. And then they can then utilize the program to dispose of all of that hazardous waste. They were more concerned with it being disposed of properly than not having a solution for them. So we've got a workaround, but the issue still remains, and I hope it stays a conversation here with this group, but just wanted to share that we have found a workaround for the schools. That's all I got.
Kimberly, I had a quick question, and I'm sorry, I don't say a personal question, but I remember it was, gosh, 3 to 6 months ago, we had a location up near, was it La Center or Ridgefield area that was out of compliance? Do you guys remember anything at all about that? I apologize, I've just lost track. Did that ever get handled or?
That's not ringing a bell for me. Can you tell me more?
What's that?
Is it Circle C?
Sounds about right, yeah. Circle C, is that it, Mike?
Circle C is moving along. We, through our hazardous assessment program, we're in partnership with the city of Vancouver and the Housing Authority for an EPA Brownsfield grant that had some excess funding. And so we proposed to the EPA that we focus in on doing some assessments for Circle C. And they did phase 1, and then Ecology approved a phase 2. And I'm not having the verbiage to give to you, I apologize. And so they're working with us, and we're trying to get them into compliance to move toward post-closure. It's going to be a question of, once we give them all this information and Ecology gives their input to it, what the Carlsons are going to do with that property. Are they going to keep it? Are they going to sell it? So we're still working with them, but at least we have some momentum, because they were ignoring us there for a little while.
Ignore it and it'll go away. And by the way, am I wrong with it? I don't know why I had thought of Ridgefield in the center. Yeah?
Yes, Ridgefield.
Ridgefield, okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of those.
Okay. Kimberly, thanks. Sorry the comment there, but I just thank you for catching me up.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Kimberly? And by the way, I apologize about calling you Kimberly Waller. It's Walker.
That's okay. I didn't hear it, so it's all good.
It looked like Waller. Okay. All right, Joelle.
Okay, so we have a few updates. First, though, I want to introduce Amanda Zadro. She's our new program assistant. This is her second day, so she is. And she's taking on the role that Amber vacated when she moved into the records role. So you'll be seeing Amanda supporting us in all of the admin work for SWAC. So we're really happy to have her. And so that was my big update that I wanted to share. We also, in late February, we got the interlocal agreement signed with City of Vancouver related to solid waste planning, and then also related to solid waste management plan. So we had talked about that at quite a few different meetings, and we knew that that was part of our solid waste management plan getting continuing to move along. So we got those accomplished. We also got the agreement in principle signed related to key terms in the contract negotiations. So that happened in late March. We started our household hazardous waste events. April 20th, we were in Ridgefield, and then we have May 11th in Yakult and June 29th in La Center. So our next SWAC meeting in August will have a nice presentation from Jess, again, like we did last year, about the data and all of the HHW we've collected. Other than that, we also did a Dirt Hugger tour in April. So the staff that didn't get to go to it last year got to go this year. And again, it was a wonderful tour. We had talked about SWAC wanting to do that tour. So if anyone is still interested in that, we can help coordinate, and Amanda will be involved in helping coordinate that. I know we did tours. I think some of you all did tours of the transfer. I think at least 1 or 2 transfer stations last year. And that was, I heard good comments, so wanted to offer that again if anyone was interested. The solid waste management plan, we got all of the content sent over to Mall Foster. Mall Foster has it and is working on putting it into the design that we decided on. We should have that back from Mall Foster by the end of May, latest June 1st. We're going to do an internal review, and then we're going to circulate it out to all of you and to our city's public works directors first, and then we're going to hopefully hit the ground running and get it out. So we're excited about that. We're still working on designing some of our data tables that are in there. So we had talked about how some of the tables looked when you all did the review of it last year. And, you know, we had comments back on gaps that we had in our data. So we're working on trying to also get that done while the design and the content's getting put together. And that is it for this last quarter.
Joel, is there any update on the transfer facility study?
Oh,
Or the-
yes, so we had to make some changes to, some small changes, scope of work. We had to make some changes to, we had to remove some cost elements that were in there, since it's considered an A&E contract. So, purchasing gave us some guidelines that we needed to follow, and that should be, everyone should hear about that in the next month or two.
If I may, as a follow on that, with the transfer station, you mentioned that it looks like the contract negotiation is moving ahead. Is the two questions, is the transfer station going to be expected to include the new MRF? And the second question is, as part of the new contract, was there any more discussion or specific discussion about revenue back to the county on recyclable?
Stay tuned. So I can't answer it yet, but I can send the agreement in principle that we did, so you'll know what the key terms were that were approved. And then hopefully we'll get the contract done in June, and then when we meet in August, I'll have all that information.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from the virtual attendees? Just want to point out to Joelle that, you know, your dirt hugger tour should be called soil hugger. Dirt is what, you know, it's farmers, we find dirt under our fingernails. Soil is, no, I'm just kidding. Send them a love. So, okay, solid waste education and outreach, Sarah Kearns.
All
Take it
right,
away.
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Just a few updates tonight to share. I know my team has been very, very active and engaged in the community recently, and we provided some programmatic updates ahead of time. So I am gonna, once again, not rattle off all of our individual engagements, but a couple of quick highlights is the last time we gathered, we talked about Food Waste Prevention Week being an upcoming activity for us. And in April, that first week was a successful campaign on social media with a news release. Clark County Council did a proclamation, and I believe City of Vancouver City Council did a proclamation as well. So we're really gathering some momentum about ways to prevent food waste. And as part of our partnership with SNAP Ed doing food waste prevention workshops, the coordinator there submitted her recipe for food waste prevention to the national organization, and it was selected as one of the top 4 nationally. As a method, it was savory pancakes, I believe. So, you know, as you have your small containers of leftovers, you can kind of assemble and craft a little leftover focused savory pancake for dinner. So that was kind of exciting for her to receive that recognition at that level.
Do you mind if I ask who that was, Sarah?
It was Stacy, I heard last
Stacy
name.
Tanner Lloyd? Yeah, Tanner Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've really been, you know, our programs have benefited from her expertise and her being able to come in and support our projects. So additionally, we're working right now on planning for a Secure Your Load campaign coming up in June, targeting transfer station customers who may or may not be properly securing their loads prior to coming to the site. Right now, we're in a pre-campaign data collection process. We're partnering with the Department of Ecology to get some support from them for our campaign. And as part of that partnership, we are doing some pre-campaign data collection to find out the scope and scale of the problem. And then we're going to repeat that data collection effort at the conclusion of the campaign to measure up and see how we did getting the word out. And I'll also note, so I brought some of our education and outreach goodies to the room today. Sorry, virtual attendees, but I did bring the trifold flyer that we intend to distribute along with some materials that relate to the presentations that you'll hear about tonight. So I'll let my team members speak to those. And then lastly, I just wanted to say that we were back again at the Home and Garden Idea Fair this past weekend and had we had 2,850 engagements with community members at that weekend event, and have been nurturing our volunteers and supporting them in a way that we're leveraging all of their enthusiasm and excitement for our waste prevention, composting and recycling messaging out there. So it's a real success for us. That's all I've got.
Any questions? Any questions from the virtual attendees?
Actually, with regards to the uncovered and unsecured loads to the transfer stations, which hits home to me because I drive that road quite a bit. How often are those violators, I guess, cited, or is it more of a verbal warning?
That is a really good question. So right now, they are not at all. And I will say that this campaign is sort of our first level of engagement, and, you know, like with the data collection to really assess the problem and where we are in terms of our customers. As part of our campaign partnership in June, we'll have enhanced state patrols on state routes in Clark County. So we're looking forward to that and hearing more about that. And to your question about the fees, we are not quite there yet in terms of evaluating what our options.
Yeah, or some kind of stick versus this
Yeah.
Lower River Road it's.
And, you know, from a litter prevention and a road safety issue, you know, we're looking for, this is a new kind of level of engagement with customers at transfer stations. So we're looking forward to seeing how this all plays out in June. And stay tuned, we'll be able to share probably at a later SWAC meeting in the fall.
Thank you.
But point well taken, yeah.
Sarah, I'm gonna say something here. You may already have this completely covered. And I would hope that you reach out to not just the state patrol, but specifically the commercial vehicle enforcement. And of course, Clark County also has commercial vehicle enforcement because of course, load securement is kind of one of those things that the standard state troopers are just gonna go, yeah, that's a commercial vehicle thing. Sorry, I spent about 8 years as a flatbed truck driver, so I know about load securement. So, yeah.
Kind of as a follow,
Yeah.
kind of on that line and what you're saying and being able to reach them. This is a carryover from I heard this about the local food bank. What they're finding is that the diversity of the population in Clark County is such that they've taken a look at their flyers and pamphlets and they're translating them into different languages, not only Spanish, but actually Ukrainian and other languages. And as people come into the transfer stations to dump the hazardous material, I would assume, just based on the labor I've seen in various settings, that language may be an issue, and I wonder if securing that loan pamphlet could be offered in another language.
We do right now have English and Spanish, and we're intending to do not have the print material available this year, but we intend to leverage our public health services for translation for social media and some other.
Yes, that's just as a footnote, the food bank actually supplemented their flyers, putting public health information in those languages because of the, I'll just say the likelihood of that segment needing assistance in other areas. So, okay, thank you.
No, that's a great point. We'll be able to, also, when we wrap up the campaign, we'll be able to see how many impressions, you know, they're called, like, on social media and what languages were viewed. So stay tuned.
Thanks.
I see Kim Harless has her hand raised.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I missed this. My son a moment ago was asking me something. But how are you tracking the effectiveness of the campaign? And do you know if Clark County still sends crews along those corridors around the transfer stations, or did that die during the pandemic?
So second question first, I don't know about county crews at all. On your first point about campaign effectiveness, we're currently monitoring all 3 transfer stations every day for a 2-week period. And we're gonna do that data collection before the campaign and again after. And we intend to kind of continue, the campaign is gonna be a big social media advertising sort of blast in June. And then we intend to maintain ongoing messaging about secure your load, and we'll be doing another 2 weeks of data collection about secured and unsecured loads again in 2025.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was like years ago. The county used to send corrections crews around the transfer stations in particular, and that was one way that when there was a Cover Your Load campaign back when I was working with you guys, that we gauged also like effectiveness. And then I was driving down there the other day and it was such a mess. And so then you just reminded me, I've been meaning to ask if you knew if county crews were doing that around the transfer stations or not. But yeah, cool. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to City of Vancouver, Julie Gilbertson.
I'll jump onto what Sarah was saying. We met last week and the city is jointly pursuing, in honor of Secure Your Load Day, June 6th is that day. Also my anniversary, so it's easy to remember. But in honor of that, we want to dovetail and amplify that message because we do host one transfer station within our jurisdiction. We see that, we hear from our community, we have volunteers who pick up along corridors. The dynamic is too that it's a state route and where there is city property, we are cleaning adjacent to. But it could be ecology and washed out partner there. Or through the correction crews. But we'll be doing a trickle campaign, kind of parallel to the county's transfer station campaign, and acknowledging that there are sites where individuals are delivering loads that may not be the transfer stations, but we want to continue to have that secure load message amplified. And one of those areas where we'll be communicating to residential customers is through our spring coupon program that's currently out April through June to Vancouver residents. With active garbage service, they get a tire disposal coupon and 2 yard debris disposal coupons. So on our coupons, we just evaluated what is the secure load message and making sure it fits in all of those areas or the same message is being delivered. So we're hitting it home in other areas. But a trickle campaign is just the concept of building awareness slowly and gradually. So we'll start with, did you know you need to secure your load for safe roads? And then again, follow up with other reasons why we secure loads. And that isn't limited to just hauling of trash, refuse, or garbage. It includes yard debris, right? And so these yard debris coupons and the sites where the residents are directed to deliver coupons, which are in Vancouver, out of Vancouver, we want to make sure we're working with those vendor sites to help carry that message in a positive behavior change kind of way. And then make sure with any of our contractors that are delivering loads, we have litter abatement contractors, they're also securing the loads. So my hope is there'll be a positive tick on Sarah's team's campaign of data collection. But we understand the reasons why it's complex. And then we will be working as well. We do Saturday neighborhood cleanups. Our staff started those cleanups. They're in partnership with Waste Connections, our recognized neighborhoods. We have over 60 in the city. We provide Saturday cleanup collection events. Some are consolidating a couple of neighborhoods, and some of the neighborhoods are geographically large enough to have their own Saturday cleanup need. We offer 23 of those from March until November. And so we want residents going to their neighborhood cleanup to secure their loads too. Even if it's a short distance, if they're crossing a residential street, we want them to carry that message. So they're gonna see it around this season of secure load messaging. But Saturday cleanups have happened. We have 21 chipper events that will also be at cleanups or standalone and 23 Saturday events. These are for bulky disposal options for Vancouver residents. So you have that, and then we're also working to, in the spirit of the Organics Management Law 2.0. So our state legislature was very busy in this short session and passed another organics measure. This taking the prior Organics Management Law that SWAC had been presented with to the next level. But just in the spirit of wanting to educate our community around diverting organic material from the landfill, that is mostly yard debris and food scraps that are, for various reasons, ending up in the garbage stream. We're looking at our organics customer base. Those 60% of single family households in Vancouver have organic service, but there's a 40% of the population that do not, for various reasons. So we're just exploring where that population of customers is across the boundaries of the city's limits. And just visualizing and mapping that data so that we can get more analysis to inform better outreach and education around where the service gaps might be, or we can work with the service provider Waste Connections to amplify message, to self-service, so to speak. It is not a required service at this time, but could be under interpretations of the Organics Management Law 2.0, if and when that becomes applicable to our jurisdiction. So just mapping out that awareness helps us better deliver the service to those customers where they're eligible. In addition, like Sarah said, we did the food waste proclamation. We joined Washington and so many other cities. I think Washington was trying to be the champion state in all 50 states. I think our highlight was just, we did a food waste haiku for council, and it was quite poetic in April being Poetry Month, as well as Food Waste Prevention Week. So yes. I will put it in the notes, so a clue to read the notes for next month. But that was exciting. And then just a follow-up to Kimberly, our stormwater group received an EPA grant about a year ago, and it is the stormwater protection grant through the EPA that is funding two different elements of targeted population pollution prevention assistance funds. One is to multifamily households. That group conducted a focus group and survey of multifamily households, got great data, is working with the county's teams and Waste Connections, and to just kind of evaluate the data from multifamily households to talk about hazardous waste disposal and other difficult to recycle or difficult to dispose items in the vein of preventing contamination of stormwater. Although there's a good nexus of solid waste there. And then the other part of their EPA funded grant was a coupon for businesses or SQG, small quantity generators of hazardous waste. We've seen little appetite, I guess, at this time for businesses to haul their waste, their hazardous waste to the facility. So great to see that we can use that for the school's benefit too. And then last, I'll just wrap it up with, we have a variety of opportunities to engage and participate with the community through recycling presentations that our mentor put on, Recycle You, we call it, 101 and 201. We have 2 coming up this month. If SWAC members want to participate, want to listen, or meet other residents, it's open to all customers of the region, but we focus on Vancouver. And then we have some litter collection events. So in that spirit of acting on litter, our litter stewards volunteers are out picking up litter later this month. And there's cleanup opportunities, beach cleanup opportunities as well in July, after 4th of July. We know that sometimes we have to, we try to prevent and then we mitigate through responding in a timely way. So I'll send some dates along in our notes as well, or have them available. So if members want those too. With that, I'll pause, questions. Oh, I didn't introduce Steve. Forgive me. Steve Jenny, he's our new Public Works Director for City of Vancouver, and joins us from the east side, but we're glad to have you on the west side.
Thank you. I think I attended virtually at the last meeting, and so it was nice to be able to come and be in person at this one. So I appreciate being here.
Dreams and pieces, yeah.
Great to have you, Steve.
Thanks.
That's all from us.
Any questions?
I have a quick one for Steve.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that came up recently was discussion of PFAS. And I understand that water purification comes under your jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
As there was some discussion that the university or Washington State University was interested in working with the local department to effectuate some of the ideas in removing PFAS from the water systems. And I was curious if you were involved in that or heard anything about that, or
I have not heard anything about Vancouver participating in the University of Washington studies of any kind. We do know that there are technologies already available to do it. They're just expensive.
yeah,
So,
Washington State, specifically, not University. of
oh,
Washington.
I'm sorry.
That's
No,
all
I
right.
haven't.
Pardon?
I haven't heard anything. So I don't think we're involved in that.
I can forward you a little bit that kind of.
I'd be
turned a
interested
lot.
in it if you could. That'd
Yes.
be great. I'll give you a card.
Thank you very much.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Did have something real quick here. This question probably for either Amber or Joelle is, I don't know if it would be appropriate. I'm thinking that I'd love to see maybe like even a subcommittee meet or something like that to be able to talk about the food waste generation or excuse me, organic generation. And of course, Mr. Dubois here, Mr. Recycle, or excuse me, Mr. Compost extraordinaire. I'd love to, I don't know, I don't even know if that's doable within SWAC or, beyond SWAC, is to have, say, like a subcommittee to sit and talk about, how does our composting, our organic matter, I want to say it goes to a processing facility, but, is that something that we could potentially turn into a, private-public partnership within the county? I've mentioned before that I'm torn just because I know that they're trying to curtail a lot of organic matter, but there's a whole bunch of organic matter that's like, oh, well, that's exempt. We're not going to, we're not going to count, personal food waste or this waste or that waste. I don't know, is that
I
something,
think you should
is that
start it.
something
I
doable?
think you should start it, Joe. Start the subcommittee.
Okay, well, tell you what, here's what we'll do, since Jason isn't here, I would really appreciate running past Jason. Let's do this as, thank you, I'll just, let's just make it as a comment, and we'll wait until the next SWAC meeting and run it past Jason Presser and then look for, is that something that, do you think that would be doable, Mr. Dubois?
And Julie mentioned, there's so much going on.
Right.
Legislative, especially with food law.
Right.
Food donation. I mean,
Right.
Very, very encompassing.
Right.
We can do prevention, recovery,
Mhm.
diversion.
Right. Well, and then I don't want to sound like a jerk here, but I was very frustrated to find out that there was all of this, food waste reduction. And then they said, oh, but there's a whole bunch of this whole other area that's exempt. I want to say it was like food, was it personal food waste or something like that was exempt?
And the organics management? one?
Yes.
Do y'all want to speak? To my understanding, the interpretations of the organics management law are somewhat fluid. So what I say today could be,
Okay.
it's a very broad law.
Right.
Or when I say law, it touches on many RCWs.
No, I get it.
So you can classify it in a business,
Mhm.
we call it BOMA, BOMA. I don't know if the college wants to speak. That is to business generators
Yeah,
of organic materials.
Right.
The law defined as very broad.
right.
So not just food scraps, pre or post consumer, industrial food scrap waste, but also yard debris.
Right.
Also woody debris.
Right.
So broad category of waste.
Right.
And then there's residential generators.
Well, sure.
Single family, multifamily. And the law, the different elements of the law are phased in over a timeline.
Mhm.
And the key for, depending on which criteria the law is triggered,
Mhm.
the key is whether that jurisdiction is, like we'll use Vancouver, for example. Technically, we do not have access to, we have access to managing our food scraps through Dirt Hugger, like Joel mentioned, the facility that is our processor.
Yeah.
But we're limited on facility space
Right.
at this time. So we are exempted from meeting the state's laws right now, but someday would be required to divert more from the landfill. Once more transfer capacity comes online. And so we know the law is there, we know the law has deadlines, we know at some point in time, we would no longer receive an exemption. And unfortunately, the law that was passed in 2022, we were still interpreting it in 2023,
Yeah.
and then they did a great law this year, and so now we're interpreting the.
Now we're
new version.
interpreting that one.
So, I can't speak with absolute certainty and clarity, would want to work with the county, really want to work with ecology.
Yeah.
The long and the short of it is we want to meet these goals. The vision is to divert this material that generates greenhouse gases, right?
Absolutely.
And leads to climate change. And capture more food, recover it, and then prevent it.
Right.
Sometimes people start with diverting to realize how much they're generating, and then they reduce what they generate after seeing what they. So yeah, it's a worthy conversation, and perhaps staff need to do some more research.
Yeah, Travis Dutton's gonna come to our next SWAC meeting and
Oh,
speak about the legislative session. Like, we've just met with Travis today,
Okay.
talking about different things. We heard from ecology. And how do you understand this? How do you understand this? And I teach been pulled into this. So we're still trying to sort of sort some of it out. So we were like, hey, you were at the session. Can you come and just talk to SWAC and give us an overview? We wanted to focus on outreach for this meeting just because we are still trying to interpret some of those
No,
things. So we were like, hopefully by August, like, and we'll work with Julie too in the city and try to all be on the same page of our understanding. Unless Christina, you want to be, we'll put you on the spot and make you good. Welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, just know that's coming. We are trying to share that information as we understand it. Like Julie said, it is very, very fluid.
Sure.
So at the risk of overstepping my bounds, we are a little bit over and
Oh, we want
Derek
to
is
Derek
in
has
the
an
house.
update.
Sorry. Derek, yeah, okay. Derek, why don't you take it away?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I had a softball game and now I'm at a soccer tryout, so I'm zipping around town here with kids. So on the, let's see, transfer station side, a couple of updates. It's been a busy start to the year. Just for your information, we had 30,524 transactions at our transfer stations in April. And last year in April, we did 27,449. So about a 3,000 customer increase. There were 2 additional work days this year, which has a strange impact. It brings in more tonnage, but fewer customers because the weekends are busy with light loads. So when you're looking at pure tonnage, we did 36,066 tons this year versus 31,515 last year. So what we oftentimes do is adjust for days and say, okay, if we had 2 more weekdays, you would have had 3,000 more tons. So in my mind, we're seeing about 4 to 5% more tons this year than last year. And things were really screaming until the weather turned south on us the last week or so, or we would have been a lot higher, but it would have probably been up around 37,000 tons had the weather cooperated. So it's been really busy. The transportation, I think you guys covered the loads, covered loads. We do send crews out on 117th or 503 on a couple of times a week. We'll send crews out there to clean the sidewalks around our facility. West Van's a little trickier because it's a little more dangerous out there on the road, but we will send people out there to clean up as well. But it is a constant battle. On the collection side, it's been quite busy on the education side. April's a busy month for us with Earth Day, Home and Garden Idea Fair, a lot of activities that we're going through this time of year. So it's really busy for our educators. We just finished the town of Yakult cleanup this last weekend. And the weekend before that, we did the city of Ridgefield cleanup. And both of those were successful events with increased attendance every year. And then obviously, as Julie mentioned, we're doing the City of Vancouver cleanups on a regular basis on Saturdays now going forward. We also have spent some time working with Julie and the city staff. They've been great to help us on what we're seeing as far as homeless population, increasing their activity around our dumpsters. We're seeing, in the past, we would see maybe, we'd have an event once a week or maybe every other week where an individual was in a container that we were servicing. And now we're seeing it on a daily basis, multiple times a day, essentially. And it's individuals looking for either shelter or food. And unfortunately for us, we service a lot of those stops in the dark. So it's an extremely dangerous situation that we're trying to get ahead of and do more prevention on. So we met with the HART team with the city. We're logging these stops where we're seeing frequent activity, time of day, and then we're also capturing video on our trucks so that the team can see who the individuals are, because I think they know most of these people, and they can then take that information and do what they need to do to help educate them to stay away from the containers if possible. Complex problems. And then the last thing real quick is we did announce, this is kind of local news, we did announce the acquisition of a company called Pioneer Recycling, and they own 2 MRFs, one in the Portland area and one in Tacoma. So they're large MRFs. They do about 410 tons a day of processing and material. And so they're a little larger than West Van. The nice thing for Clark County, it won't really impact Clark County. But if we were to have some sort of major outage or something along those lines, it certainly gives us the bandwidth to work with now what is a sister site to take some tons in if we're in a pinch. So that'll be good news for us. And that's all I have.
I'm sorry, Derek, can you please repeat the name of that company that you acquired?
Pioneer Recycling.
Thank
It
you.
used to be SP, I believe. It's down in Clackamas, is the one in the Portland area. And then the one in Tacoma is up. Actually, they lease property from us at our Tacoma, one of our Tacoma sites. And they take material from throughout Pierce County.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Derek? Anybody from the virtual meeting? Seeing none, let's move on to vape and battery outreach update. I know, Kimberly, I want to say you kind of touched on it a little bit. Mackenzie Hagedorn and Camille Shelton. Or do we have them here?
They're here.
There you are.
Yeah, they're on my team, and they're just
Oh.
gonna give a brief update about a specific project that they've been working on, yeah.
Hello. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and pull up the presentation. Sorry, I think it's a little laggy on my end. Can you guys see that?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Oh, yep, it's still loading on this end.
No, it's up.
Okay, great. Full screen, sorry. It's taking a minute, sorry, y'all. Guess my internet might be slow.
Emil, if you think it'll help, I can also screen share so you don't have so much going on.
I don't know why this is taking forever. I'm concerned about it. Let's do that.
Okay, give me a second. I'll pull it up.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, can you guys see it okay?
Yes, looks
Oh,
great.
awesome. Thank you. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna try to keep my camera on. And if my internet is bugging out, I might have to turn it off. So let me know if that's a problem. But my name is Camille Shelton. I work with our Clark County Green Neighbors program, and we're really excited to be here and chat with y'all. Just a couple quick updates about our battery outreach program is what I'm going to be talking about. And then Mackenzie will come in at the end and talk a little bit more about vapes. So we can move on to the next slide here. So our battery drop-off program, we started this program last year. Last summer, we started onboarding sites. The idea was that we could have safe disposal locations that were more accessible to the greater Clark County community, and that these locations would be accepting all battery types, but primarily we're marketing them as rechargeable battery drop-off locations for lithium ion and other higher risk battery types. Next slide here. So this
Camille?
is a map. Yes.
Camille, sorry to interrupt you here. I was just gonna say, hey, maybe if you want to turn off your video, that may, we can hear you just fine. That might help. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. This is a map of our current battery drop-off locations. As you can see here, we have a couple that are spaced out around Clark County. We even have one up in Amboy, which is really exciting. Just proximity to the other, thank you. Just proximity to the transfer station up there is always a constant battle. So this poster itself, we have printed out and it's in all of our tabling kits. So all of the events that we are presenting at for my program with Clark County Green Neighbors, and then the Composter Recycler Volunteer Program, as well as some of our partner educators over with the City of Vancouver and with Waste Connections. This sign is in a lot of those tabling kits. So we use this as we're out in the community talking to residents about why proper battery disposal is really important for preventing fires. And then we can use it as a teaching tool to kind of point out the different locations, and then that QR code down at the bottom links to Recycling A to Z, which pulls up all of these locations if you type in batteries or click on one of the battery categories there. You can go to the next slide, Mackenzie. So this is just a picture of one of the battery drop-off locations. This was actually taken downtown at the high school pharmacy on Main Street. Main Street and 4th Plain, I think, is the cross street. But this is a picture of one of the call to recycle boxes. You can see it's labeled recycle your batteries and cell phones here. So this program also accepts cell phones, which is really exciting. So residents can drop off batteries and cell phones anytime the stores are open in these boxes. The instructions are to properly package the batteries, either through taping the terminal ends or bagging each battery. So that little overhang that you see right there, that's actually some tearaway bags, which people can tear off in order to properly package their batteries for drop off. You can go to the next slide. So this is just a very quick summary slide of all of our outreach. We could talk probably about each one of these points for the rest of the meeting probably, but we did put together a battery site toolkit. So this is a pretty extensive document which explains all of the programmatic information for the battery host locations to be able to provide to their employees and to be able to educate their staff about proper battery disposal. And then it also provides a lot of content, social media content, and other education and outreach materials, which then the battery host sites are able to disseminate to their customer base. We had a little plug in the annual Waste Connections recycling mailer, which was sent out to Waste Connections customers this last fall. We had a half-page plug in there about this new program. We run a couple Columbian advertising campaigns. We did several social media campaigns, and this program was, the battery drop-off program was featured in our holiday waste reduction education campaigns, which also included some of these other advertising types as well. We have been plugging it pretty significantly for our in-person outreach. Like I mentioned, we had some new in-person outreach materials that have been created. And the Green Neighbors program is now hosting a section of the Recycling 201 workshop, which is in partnership with City of Vancouver, Recycle U, which Julie just mentioned earlier in her update section. And this program is brought up, and we talk a little bit more about batteries in that section. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I was out at the Composter Recycler volunteer meeting and provided a lot of training for our Composter Recycler volunteers to be able to understand why battery disposal is a public safety concern and how we're able to utilize this new drop-off program. Next slide, Mackenzie. This is just some example material. I know that Sarah brought some in print, so if you guys are interested, you can pick some up. But this is a new postcard size flyer that's available at all of our outreach events. And it has not only some information about where to access the location, so the Recycle Right app and then that QR code, but it also includes some really important instructions to make sure that the batteries are properly packaged, so they're dropped off in a safe manner. Next slide. These are some stickers, and I know that Sarah brought some for y'all who are attending in person, but these stickers are available also in our tabling kits, also at our in-person outreach events. And we also are including these last two materials, the stickers and that postcard explaining the battery programmatic information. We're including both of those to all customers that come to one of our HHW collection events this spring. So all of the Ridgefield customers who attended the Ridgefield collection event were provided with each of these materials. And we're also planning to provide them to the Yakult listener events that are coming up. Next slide. I think that might be it for my battery section. So if you guys have any questions, we can take those now, or we can hold them to the end and loop them together. I'm flexible on that. So if anyone has any burning questions right now, feel free to let me know.
Hi, this is Kim. I have just a couple questions before I forget. So I'm out in the field and I go to the Paint Care locations and I noticed these popping up, just super cool. I was like, what is this? So it was exciting to see that in the field in operation. I had a question though about if the sites were getting any sort of training or reimbursement. And the reason I ask is I think it was the Hazeldale Park Rose. I went there to check them out and check in with them about their paint recycling. And that one of the staff persons had what I think was that box, and they had placed all the batteries on the counter and put gloves on and were taping up all the batteries by themselves. And I wasn't sure if that was the intention or how much time that the stores are dedicating to the boxes, or I was just kind of wondering about that operational aspect of it and maybe unintended consequences for the sites.
That's a good question. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. So it's kind of multifaceted. Yes, the battery locations are provided with training. So part of that toolkit is training, which is intended for not only the managers, but also the employees and the staff at each of those locations. And the toolkit includes information about proper packaging and also how to communicate packaging standards to the customers. So that's one thing that we've done. Another thing with reference to training is that Call to Recycle themselves has a required training for the host locations, and it's required that they complete that training every 6 months. So someone from management at each of the battery site locations is completing a official Call to Recycle training at least twice a year. I believe more people can take the training, but it's a requirement that at least one point person per location takes that training. And that also includes a lot of packaging information. After that, I believe it's up to the host sites if that box, kind of where that box is positioned is going to impact. So if the box, for example, is up at the counter and then all of the staff are trained on proper packaging, the hope is that then they'd be able to see someone come in with batteries that are not properly packaged and then be able to educate that customer, hey, could you please put them in the baggies, before you drop them in the box, right? But sometimes that's just not possible depending upon the location of the box. And then in that case, it's kind of up right now, how it's been is it's kind of been up to the host site location. So some locations do take it on, and like you saw at the location that you were at recently, some locations do take that on and package themselves. And then some locations will, if they see someone come in with loose batteries, will take that as an opportunity to educate the customer. It just is kind of dependent upon the operations over on the host site location. We can do what we can to kind of educate up front and to communicate why the proper packaging is extremely important, and then to provide recommendations moving forward and staff training tools and provide suggestions for proper placement. There is a site location consultation that's required before we bring them on board for this program. And as part of that site visit, we'll walk the store and suggest, work with the staff and suggest potential placement options for that box. And that's something that we can always do moving forward if we notice and we hear from, you know, a location that it's a concern. We can always go back out there and do another, you know, troubleshooting kind of visit and work with them to figure out what the potential solutions are so that we're not burdening their staff with this ask, because that's not the intention.
Thanks. Yeah, that helps a lot. I was curious what, because, you know, at Paint Care, you know, we kind of, all paint should go through the staff people. And so if the staff people don't have something in place to where they're directing customers to a certain counter or something, then it's on them that they accepted waste, or rather the customer dumped it on them, because they weren't available or didn't make it, you know, it's on them basically.
Right.
So that's what I was like kind of checking in on, was just, so if I see it again, or I don't know, I was just curious what the strategy was when it came to that, and if stores were expected to put in that extra staff time or not. And then it sounds like, and sorry, I haven't gone to the website to look, but it sounds like you're doing a lot of education to tell people that they can't just come with a baggie of batteries, but they have to properly package them in order to drop them off. So that's really good.
Right. And the enforcement of that is just challenging, especially if that box is in a non-monitored location. So during that site visit, we do try to encourage, if they have room at a counter that is monitored, like one of the cashier stations or like the paint counter or a key counter or something else that has more regular, you know, staff eyes on it. That's something we always encourage, but we don't really have control over where they put it. And ultimately, yeah, that's kind of the extent that we can provide right now.
Any other questions? No one else? Okay.
No, I can take it over from here with vape disposal outreach. My name is Mackenzie. I'm the AmeriCorps member that works with Green Business. I don't think I've met most of you, so just saying hi. I'm excited to chat about our vape disposal outreach plan. So this plan is in an effort to do some material distribution and education to each of the around 300 businesses across Clark County that are licensed to sell vapes. I'm really excited to work in collaboration with other AmeriCorps members at the City of Vancouver and our very own composter recycler to distribute these materials and education. 300 is a really big lift, and we're hoping to get this all done by July 1st. So got a lot of work ahead of us to get out into the community and chat with people. But in addition to our materials distribution, we also have several digital campaigns. We're planning on doing a news release, a blog post, and a social media campaign. We're also sending out emails to each of those 300 businesses, primarily to tell them that we're coming, and hopefully to have them there in person when we're there so we can have some conversations about education and why proper vape disposal is important. But also those emails are going to have some resources for them to hold on to, such as the information that's on our HHW website and kind of some background and why it's important to properly dispose of vapes. I've also been able to leverage my background in GIS and also work in collaboration with the county GIS team to create a little map to help us create this outreach plan. Because again, with 300 sites and 3 of us working on it, we want to use our time wisely. So I'm going to show you a little map. This is not the final version of the map, but just so you can kind of visualize everything that we have going on here. So this map is showing clustering of those 300 businesses that I mentioned. As you can see, the southern part of the county, very high density of these businesses that are licensed to sell vapes, which makes sense, you know, Vancouver, Camas area, higher population density. But I'm hoping to work with the GIS department at the county because they have some analysis tools that I don't have access to. So I'm hoping to have them set up a map with using zonal statistics and balanced zones, if you know anything about GIS. And it will help us create, well, fingers crossed, hopefully help us create 3 zones within the county that have about 100 sites each to help the 3 AmeriCorps members working on the outreach of this kind of evenly distribute the love here. So we're not like running into each other's zones. We would each have our own separate zone that we're working through. And these are the materials that we're hoping to drop off at the businesses. This first one here is a window cling, and we have window clings that are going to be able to be put on the inside or the outside. So we're hoping to work with businesses and see which one makes the most sense for their business. This longer one is a laminated poster that we're hoping to be distributed or to be placed somewhere that would be easily accessible by the customer. So we're picturing that would either be like taped to a counter where people are checking out, or maybe on a wall somewhere. We're hoping to get that set up for them. And then we're also going to drop off a postcard of our green business program, just so they can know all of the resources available to them if they're interested in becoming a certified green business. It has all of our contact information there. And yeah, we're hoping to distribute all of these things and facilitate conversations with the business owners about why it's important to properly dispose of vapes and what resources are available to them in general. So yeah, I think that's it. If anyone has any questions for me specifically or thought of more questions for Camille.
Any questions? Going once, going twice.
I'll get one for you, Mackenzie. There were some stats on vape use by minors, underage kids, that about almost 20%, depending upon the state, I'll say between 16 and 21% of the kids are using vapes. We miss that market once it leaves the store because they're not acquiring it at the store, they're acquiring it through secondary sources. Is there any effort to supplement the program that we have with schools on other recycling issues to include vape information to the kids?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I know that's been a conversation before I was kind of pulled into this. So if Camille has anything to add, I don't think I was a part of that conversation. I know there was some decisions that were trying to be made about that.
That's a good question. And I think right now, with reference to this vape conversation, our team is definitely focusing on store education and outreach, just because that's kind of our starting point, if you will. And that's something that has been decided in partnership with our operations team. So that's kind of like where we're starting with it right now. And then I know that moving forward, I think there are certainly opportunities to do education and outreach in different spaces to access different users that might fall into different categories based on their age. But I think that's something that we as an education team would pursue after this program has been completed. We're expecting to be able to distribute a lot of these materials and to have a lot of these conversations in the next several months. So it's that's something that maybe we can look to in the next coming months. But Sarah or Joelle, if you're in the room, I'll default to y'all. If you guys have anything to add.
Thank you.
There was another question that came in. Mackenzie, sorry if I missed this. Will the materials be distributed in person or will it be mailed?
It will be in person, yeah. So we're gonna go to each of the 300 sites, hand them an envelope with the materials in there, and then hopefully be able to facilitate some conversations while we're there.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Moving on, Community Hub composting presentation. Selena Montgomery and Keith Waugh.
Somebody that's gonna share.
Hey all, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I apologize. I'm having microphone and camera issues. My computer's only wanting to cooperate with Microsoft Teams today, I suppose. I'm gonna attempt to share my screen here.
We see it. Got it.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm Selena Montgomery and Pete Dubois is in person in the room with those of you that are also in person in the room. And I work with the Green Business Program. Pete's with the Composter Recycler Program, and we're going to talk to you about our We Compost pilot program today and the evolution of the pilot program from congregation to community hub composting. All right, and I'll let Pete take it away on slide 2 here.
Thank you. So this, we have referenced some of this. This is just a lot that's going on. We have 2 major bills that have passed, HB 1799 and the recent one, HB 2301. And so there's a lot going on statewide. And so really this pilot effort was around residential food waste and mostly around diversion. But there are many, many aspects to grappling with food waste. And so, as Julie mentioned, one of the impetus, the large impetus of this was around climate change, but also just trying to get our behaviors changed is also a really important piece. And food is different than wood. Anyone know how it's different? It's putrescible, which is a great municipal solid waste term. So it goes putrid very fast and it gets slimy, and I'm very familiar with all these things. So we're gonna go to the next slide and just talk about really some of the rationale for this pilot project effort. And what we have found is it's a much easier option to get the food in a cart and have it whisked away weekly to an industrial facility that can manage this properly. We certainly have home composting and compost bins and worm bins, but with that material, we're really looking at fruits, vegetables, coffee, tea, and eggshells. But there's a larger component in the food waste stream. And so really the intent here was to have food waste access to all, especially around residents. And so we're familiar with the green carts that some people have, 60% of the city of Vancouver has, and they can put their food in now. Maybe that will change as these laws get enforced. But still, folks in rural areas, apartment complexes, there will always be a need for folks that just can't walk it into their alley or wherever they keep their cart, dump their pail in. And so we've also got some limited waste management capacity just right now that we're dealing with. So there's a large number of households that could be served through the yard debris organics carts and are not able to. So I think let's go to the next slide. I'm not sure if I'm jumping in. Yeah. So we kicked off this idea. Really, it was an opportunistic opportunity with the church in Camas, St. Thomas of Aquinas. And so we figured if you don't have a cart in your driveway that you can dump your pail into, maybe we could put a cart where people show up every week. And so we thought about churches. This was a great opportunity. And one of our composter recycling volunteers, thankfully, had just come through the program, and she was able to partner with me to launch this. And we had some criteria that they had to meet, and then the county and our partners, we provided the cart, education. Waste Connections was very integral in working with us on this. And lo and behold, people started filling up these carts with their pails. So kind of a modern day food tithe. And we expanded to about 8 churches and had some really great momentum around this. And then, like running the relay race, I passed the baton to Selena, who will jump in with number 2.
All right, so you've heard about Congregation to Compost, which was 2021. Now we're going to 2022, and Congregation to Compost has been such a success that it's now morphed into We Compost. And the pilot program has grown from partnering exclusively with congregations to any organization within Clark County that's willing and able to host food waste carts. Okay, so the We Compost pilot program, let's break down the 2 types of participants in the pilot program. We've got commercial facilities, which will include a facility that is generating food waste on site and only collecting their generated food waste. And then we've got community hubs, which this category fits most of our sites in the program right now. And it can be further broken down into two ways. So an organization is either a limited access community hub or just a community hub. A limited access hub being a site that's food waste carts are available for use only to people that are associated with that organization. So an example of that is Clark Public Utility District. They're a limited community hub because their food waste cart is only available to the employees of Clark Public Utility District. And then we've got just the good old regular community hub, which is more of an open access food waste carts hub, and it's available for anyone to bring their food waste for disposal. And an example of a community hub is 78th Street Heritage Farm, which is actually our first community hub. It's very exciting. They've got 3 food waste carts on their site, and anybody can come onto 78th Street Heritage Farm's property and dispose of their food waste there. Okay, if you've got a cell phone and it's on, I encourage you to take it out, scan the QR code on the screen. And this is going to take you to the Clark County Green Neighbors We Compost webpage, where information on all of the community hubs is available. We currently have 7 active community hubs. And if you aren't a backyard composter, if you're not feeding farm animals, you don't live in an area where you can subscribe to a food waste or organics cart, we hope that one of these locations are conveniently located near you for use. Also available on that webpage is resident-focused information on how to obtain a free kitchen countertop pail. There's an overview of how your food scraps are going to be turned into organic compost through our commercial composter Dirt Hugger, and information on what is and is not allowed in the food waste carts. Okay, and next we'll take you through our recruitment, onboarding, and data collection and reporting processes. And Pete's going to inform you on the initial approach to site recruitment.
Yes, so we initially wanted to make sure that when we rolled out the cart, it wasn't being picked up empty. And so we had, our criteria is pretty simple. We made sure that we had at least 30 households. In this case, it was congregants in the churches. We had a wonderful intern, Rachel, who you might meet someday, who was here helping. We had the name pledge, so folks actually were signing the board. We had incredible participation. I mean, basically 100%. And then you can see all the little pails. If anyone needs a kitchen pail, we are distributing these at no cost. And so that's a great way to kind of remove that barrier to collecting that material. And then we were anticipating that about 5 pounds was going to be brought in. So 150 pounds would equal to about half the cart weight that we're looking at. And then that's actually, you're talking about 300-pound cart. That's pretty hard to move. So once we had that, we knew, and then we actually were visually going out weekly and weighing these and visually looking for contamination, reporting back. And Celine is going to talk about more of the outreach and reporting back. But very engaged and very clean product. Really, I'd say 99% food only. And so this is a more of an opt-in approach where folks are going out of their way to bring us a food waste. So they're not looking for ways to dump their stuff. Okay, turn it back to you, Selena.
Thanks, Pete. Okay, so Pete's covered the initial approach in more of the congregation to compost era. So bringing us into We Compost and the current recruitment approach. And it's really been to start with the low-hanging fruit, with the goal to provide more community hubs throughout Clark County. We started this year by asking our existing participating organizations to consider transitioning into community hubs. So if they were previously that limited community hub, we're asking them to open up their carts to everyone. And we were actually met with a lot of interest to continue participating in a new way from these sites. 6 out of our 10 congregations expressed interest. 3 of those 6 are now live on the website, and they're active community hubs. And the remaining 3 have given us an expectation before the end of month to be having gone through that final approval process, and we'll get their community hub poster signs set up and their carts located on our website. Other recruitment efforts have been additional tabling events at also these existing participating sites. This allows us to get folks who are new to the organization or maybe missed us on the first go around to pledge to bringing their food scraps to the cart on site. And it's also a great opportunity for us to continue encouraging folks that maybe we've already seen, to encourage them again with the why we have a pilot program dedicated to diverting food waste from landfill. Pete spoke previously to the previous method of obtaining 30 pledges before getting a food waste cart ordered and considering that organization eligible for the pilot program. And now, if an interested organization is committed to being a community hub, we are offering to have a cart ordered and available by the time of the tabling event, so that interested folks who are, signing their pledge card, they're putting their name on the whiteboard, encouraging their neighbors and, friends to also pledge to bring their food scraps in. They can see and be familiar with the food waste cart. They know exactly where it's going to be located on the site. And that method has eliminated a lot of questions, and it's really helped keep up the momentum after those tabling events. And I mentioned earlier that we're looking to add community hub sites where they're most needed, and this is going to guide where we focus our recruitment effort this year. The We Compost team is currently gearing up to do outreach for our active community hub sites. So that puts our future recruitment efforts somewhere in Q3 of this year. Okay. So all of our sites are pretty outfitted with plenty of signage detailing what should be going in the cart. And we require that only food waste be put in the carts because our grant funding is pretty specific for the pilot program to be focused on food waste diversion. And if you're wondering if you see there's a biodegradable bag in this photo on the right-hand side here, compostables and biodegradable bags are not allowed in the food waste carts. The food waste collected in Clark County is being sent to a commercial composter, Dirt Hugger. And because Dirt Hugger is producing organic certified compost, items like compostables and bio bags are not allowed to make it into their composting process because they can contain synthetic materials. Other onboarding initiatives is establishing internal champions. Those internal champions being folks within the organization that help us with the data collection efforts. So they are trained by our Waste Connections counterparts on how to take weights using a pounds per inch conversion with their carts on site. And they also do cart monitoring for us. So this picture here is an example of slight contamination or minimal contamination. And that cart monitoring would include our internal champion taking a photo and submitting that for contamination review. Which, speaking of contamination, so this is a quote from Dirt Hugger that someone was able to obtain from our Dirt Hugger tour that a lot of the team recently went on. Yeah, so the awesome folks at Dirt Hugger recognize that the quality of organic waste that makes its way from Clark County is said to be visually recognizable by the lack of contamination when the load is being deposited by a Waste Connections truck. And that really speaks to the effectiveness of having communities buy in to taking on habit changes and the influence the pilot program has had in parts of Clark County. Not mentioned in this quote, but also very deserving of kudos and obvious effectiveness is the hard work the Waste Connections cart taggers are doing. The cart tagging continues the educating of residents in Clark County on how to properly dispose of food waste through the food waste and organics carts in Clark County. Okay, so either someone from our team being Clark County, We Compost team, or an internal champion at one of our participating sites is recording weekly cart weights and contamination through an online form. This data reporting has been essential in determining each participating site's progress throughout the program. Our team does a monthly weight report to analyze the previous month's reported weights, and that helps us determine what sites are in need of either, high fives and pats on the backs, kudos, for a good month of food diversion, and hopefully little to no contamination. And also lets us know what sites are in need of additional support to get cart weights up. And here we have an overview of the We Compost efforts in 2023. We had 15 participants across all sectors of the pilot program, the breakdown being 11 limited community hubs, 2 commercial facilities, and 2 community hubs. And the efforts of these 15 sites resulted in approximately 29,305 pounds of food waste diverted from landfill. We are super proud of what we were able to accomplish this past year, and we definitely expect to surpass these numbers in 2024. Excuse me. Next steps for We Compost in 2024. We plan to establish new community hubs throughout Clark County. And I've mentioned this a few times, and we plan to establish these hubs in places of need. Excuse me. And to establish where places of need are, our team is going to utilize tools like the USA EPA Environmental Justice Screening and Mapping tool. And that is a mouthful of a resource that'll allow us to use a data set. And that data set will help us use demographic socioeconomic indicators to help us research and further determine where these areas of need are going to be in Clark County. We also have high hopes in being able to engage more commercial facilities, especially food facilities this year. And lastly, we're gearing up for a lot of residential outreach to let folks know we have an already existing inventory of community hubs for everyone to use. We plan on building partnerships within schools, multifamily housing complexes, businesses. A lot of our existing congregations have partnerships or build connections with neighborhood associations. And we want all of this outreach and partnership building to be surrounding our existing community hub locations. And outside of this promotion through our partners, we are going to continue to promote We Compost through social media presence, online ads, newspaper ads, and zip code mailers that will lead folks to a community hub near them. All of these next steps being an effort to bring food waste carts to everybody in Clark County. All right, well, thank you for tuning in to hear about the We Compost pilot program. I apologize, my throat is going very dry in the last few slides here, but if anybody has any questions, we can answer them.
Hi, this is Gabe. Would you mind going back to the QR code slide if you don't mind? I missed it.
We are going back. All right, Gabe, here you go.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, this is Kim. I had a question about, you said you're going to be using tools and resources to figure out next areas of need. I would like to request that you also include the Social Equity Index, and Julie Gilbertson could probably connect you with that. It's a tool that we use at the City of Vancouver, because I noticed that in particular, the Fourth Plain Corridor, there's not a location there. And there is the Fourth Plain Forward group. If you haven't already connected with them, that would be an excellent next opportunity to figure out how to navigate those spaces and get something in there.
Yeah, we actually have Fourth Playing Forward as a client. They are just not a community hub. Their enclosure for all their refuse bins is pretty tight. And just where they were when we initially approached them, it was a best fit for them just to be using the carts for more of the commercial facilities focus. So that's where we are with them right now. And we've definitely been encouraging them and trying to figure out if it's a possibility for them to be either an internal community hub or a limited community hub or a community hub for everyone in that area.
Yeah, and they might have some good ideas too about other areas within the corridor. And then, shoot, I just spaced on my other question. It's gone.
I can shoot over to the email slide and you can send us an email when you remember the question.
Oh, like, have you reached out to other organizations like the VHA, you know, with their multifamily that's focused on vulnerable communities? There's a lot of affordable housing in the process or being built right now. So getting that in sooner than later is always a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that suggestion.
Selena, this is Ruben. I did see that kind of your forward thinking implementation on this would be to start incorporating schools. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it might not be in a way that you'd think. So previously when I talked with Sammy Springs, who is the Green Schools coordinator, so she's got her own initiatives where there are already existing schools that are collecting their food waste on site. So we wouldn't use schools as community hubs per se, but part of what we're looking at in determining where community hub locations will exist or where we'll approach next is looking at areas where schools are, multifamily housing is surrounding. So it's definitely guiding our efforts.
So it's not exactly the schools, but more the demographics around the schools and the population height concentration.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, something that's been consistently brought up when we've talked about schools being active community hubs is security. Yeah, the schools don't just want anybody being on site, and then the enclosures being in an area where the carts can't be accessible when you're not also just, you know, going onto school grounds has been an issue.
Any other questions? One once, one twice. So, okay. All right, well, Pete and Selena, thank you very much. Moving on to other business or new business. Do we have anything? I guess I do have one thing, maybe Amber, if we can see if we can get on the agenda for next month. I'd like to see about putting together if everybody else is, you know, in approval, or anybody else thinks that it'd be a decent thing, is maybe to put together a subcommittee to talk about Clark County.
I noted that when you mentioned it earlier.
What's that? Well, you noted it, you noted it when I mentioned it.
Regarding food waste?
Yeah.
Yep, I noted that when you mentioned it earlier.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it very much.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Any other new business?
Just the other thing, as far as the next meeting, you already covered it with what you said, the information you'll have ready.
Right.
Based on what's gonna happen June, July. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
That's great. Public, no other new business. Public comment if we have any. Anybody from the public?
I see.
Oh, hello, Kim. Go ahead.
Hey, I don't know if it's I feel like in previous years, SWAC members had been invited to go to WSRA or AOR. Those two conferences are coming up. So I just wanted to pitch that, whether SWAC members, you know, pay for it themselves or otherwise. I think WSRA is in like 2 weeks, and it's located in Vancouver, and AOR is in Portland this year. So both of them are just, you know, when it comes to cost savings, you know, you're not needing to travel or use a hotel. It's a great year to try to go to both of them. And then just a pitch, both of them will be having a tour of Metro Paint in partnership with Paint Care. So if you're curious about paint recycling, it's a great way to go and see that as well.
do you happen to have the full name of those?
Washington State Recycling Association.
Washington State Recycling Association and the Association of Oregon Recyclers.
WSRA is about to fill up. You
Mhm.
can still get your, I just checked,
Okay,
May 14th through the 17th. And you can share your news.
Well, you won't have to come to this presentation.
Oh, okay.
We're presenting at WSOA the same composting hub.
like why would I?
If you guys didn't get it up tonight, you're welcome to come.
Good video. No, good. Great. It's
And
a
then-
great opportunity.
And then the Oregon Recycling Association.
Association of Oregon Recyclers, AOR.
Okay.
I'll forward the links, maybe
Okay.
from them.
Be great.
AOR is the week of like June 17th, I want to say, where WSRA is in downtown Vancouver in the Hilton. You can do a single day,
Huh?
or you can do the full conference.
Okay, good to know. Any other comments? Going once, going twice, so. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second. Mike seconds, all right. All opposed, or all in favor?
Hi.
All right, there you go. Any opposed? Okay, Kim's giving the thumbs up there, okay. All right, guys, we will see you at the next meeting. Thank you very much. Have a great day.